Hello, it's a very lovely good morning from here in Cali, and hope that each one of you are absolutely fine, hale, and hearty. And as always, we pray to the Almighty to keep you absolutely in fine shape, in good spirits, and at the same time shower upon you supreme amount of success. So now, coming to the business end, each one of you are quite well aware of this particular fact that examinations are approaching fast, no doubt about that. But problem is that whenever the examinations approach fast and swiftly, our heart beats too in proportion rises, and that's the basic problem. So, in order to calm down your heartbeats, that's why we have conducted this particular special session wherein we are going to actually, especially on your request, we are going to actually talk about the how to go about the preparation of the NDAs. So that is why the title of this particular session itself is Preparation Strategy for NDAs. And besides, we will also talk about the AS. Correct, no doubt about that, because I have been receiving lots of messages of late wherein students were demanding. So please conduct a particular session and tell us some inputs, or rather give us some inputs with respect to the preparation of the NDAs strategy. So we have heeded to your request, and at the same time, we on our part were also quite willing to actually do the same. So here is the what we call session, of course, and I'm quite sure that after having gone through this particular session, many of your hunches and many of your confusions and chaotic feelings will get erased out. No doubt about that. So, as always, we shall strive and do our level best to make the things absolutely clear to how to go about what we call NDS studies. But first of all, let me also make it absolutely clear that as far as India's preparation strategy is concerned, we use the word strategy so coolly and calmly and so easily sometimes without knowing its exact meaning. So you need to understand quite well what exactly strategy is. Strategy means, in simple words, a plan of action with surgical precisiveness. A plan of action with a surgical precisiveness, and what for? To achieve the overall what we call your target. However, in order to make these surgical and precisive studies, you need to be absolutely very well aware of all the nitty and gritty of everything regarding which you are what we call preparing the strategy. That is what my main point is. Now, coming to the Indias, this is a title I'm putting up the sheet before you. Indias and preparation, Indias and AS preparation strategy. But I'm keeping this sheet for a while, correct, on my side, towards right side actually. So first of all, you need to understand one important aspect. Now we are coming to the business end, and in real sense, we are starting the session. See, each one of you are very well aware by now that as far as Ind AS are concerned, as far as Ind AS are concerned, Ind AS are either based upon international accounting standards or they are based upon international financial reporting standard. You should be aware of, first of all, this important aspect. What I tell actually, that as far as Indias is concerned, Indias are either based upon international accounting standards or Indias are simply based upon international financial reporting standards. Now, as far as Indias is concerned, such Indias which runs from this serial 1 to 42, that means any Indias which falls in between what we call these two figures, it means such Indias are based upon international accounting standard. Are you getting my point or not? For example, Indias 1, for example, Indias 2, for example, Indias 16, for example, Indias 40 and 41. So such Indias which are in the serialing of 1 to 42, that means such Indias are based upon international accounting standard. This is the first point which you should be aware of. Then there are some standards which are based upon the series of 100. The series of 100 starts from 101 and runs till up to 116. Correct? Such Indias which falls in this particular serial set means such Indias are based upon international financial reporting standards. So put it in simple words. That means Indias will either fall in this set or Indias will fall either in this particular set. Are you getting my point? For example, Indias 101, Indias 102, 103. So these standards which I just talked about, that means they are based upon international financial reporting standard because they carry a series of 100. While such indices which carry a series of what we call 1 to 42 or in between 1 to 42, that means such indices are based upon international accounting standard. This is the first point which you should be very aware of. Now, put it in other words. It means indices will have a serialing from 1 to 42, say indices 1, 2, 5, indices 7, indices 8, indices 10 till up to 42. However, from 40, however, in fact, I should write here 41. However, even here I should write 41. Correct? However, from 42 till up to 100, every slot is vacant. That means there is no index by the name of 42, there is no index by the name of 43, 44, 45, 86, 87, 99, 100. That means this slot is vacant. Is it clear to you? So index will either carry a series of 1 to 41 or it will fall in between 101 to 116. However, such indices which are in the series of 100, correct? These are based upon International Financial Reporting Standard. I have already talked about this. However, there is no slot vacant from 101 to 116. That means for every slot, there is an index. For example, there is index 101, there is index 102, index 103, 4, 5, 6, 7, even till up to 116. Actually, we have index. That means not a single slot is free as far as this particular series is concerned. However, as far as this series is concerned, from 1 to 41, as far as this series is concerned, out of this series, there are many indices which have been now deleted or which are or for which there is no index. And you should be aware of this particular point quite well. What exactly I want to say? Suppose I take this particular set from 1 to 41. Correct? There is an index by the name of AS1. We know index 1. Similarly, there is an index also for 2. However, there is no index like 3. There is no index 3. Similarly, there is no index 4. Similarly, there is no index 5. Similarly, there is no index 6. Are you getting my point or not? My point is, indices are either what we call based upon International Accounting Standard and the series will be 1 to 41, or indices will be based upon International Financial Reporting Standard and the series will be 101 to 116. However, there is not a single slot unoccupied as far as this series is concerned. That means there is an index for every what we call serial 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 10, 11, 12, 113, 114 and 116. Not a single slot is vacant. However, as far as this set is concerned, from 1 to 41, there are many slots for which there is no index in practical life at this particular moment, and you should be aware of this. Correct? So I will take the next sheet to put the perspective this way. So first, I'm talking about 1 to 41. You need not require to write at this moment. Simply listen to actually, because I have seen there are some doubts prevailing in the minds of the student, because one student tossed a question to me recently, said, you did not actually put up any index by the name of index 3. Now let me make it absolutely clear. At this moment, there is no index by the name of 3. Similarly, 4. Similarly, 5. Similarly, 6. Correct? That means there is no index 3, index 4. Similarly, index 5 or index 6. Similarly, there is no index 9. Are you getting my point or not? Similarly, there is no index 13, 14 and 15. All these slots are vacant. Please pay attention here. It is very important for you to understand, because I have seen that students sometimes unnecessarily create what we call confusion. That is why I am putting up these simple things before you. Similarly, there is no index by the name of index 22. Similarly, there is no index 25. There is no index 26. Similarly, there is no index 30. There is no index 31. And honestly speaking, there is also no index 35. Similarly, there is no index 39. Actually, honestly speaking, there was an index 39 earlier, correct, 2-3 years ago, but same index now has been replaced by index 109. So, in between 1 to 41, you must have noticed so many standard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There are 15 slots are absolutely vacant. Are you getting my point or not? 15 slots are absolutely vacant. Similarly, out of this series, there are no index for these serialings which I just wrote a bit moment before you. However, in between this series, there are many standard now which have been either deleted or which have been replaced. Now we come over to that particular point. For example, Index 18. Index 18 and 11. Both these standards dealt with recognition earlier. There was Index 18 with respect to revenue recognition, and there was Index 11 with respect to construction contract. Indirectly, both these standards actually dealt with recognition of the revenue. But however, both these standards now stand deleted. Reason is that both these standards now indirectly both these standards have now submerged into IND AS 115. This is the point which you need to be aware of. Are you getting my point or not? So IND AS 18 and 11 indirectly now have submerged into IND AS 115. So you need not require to study IND AS 100 and IND AS 18. You need not require to study IND AS 11 simply because both these standards now, as I said, have been replaced by IND AS 115. Is it clear to you or not? So you have seen actually in between 1 to 41, some standards, there are slots which are absolutely free, and there are some standards which have been now deleted. So your workload automatically will come down a wee bit. So now I come to the main sheet. This was the first point which I wanted to bring to your notice so that you could understand it a little bit in a better manner. So this is the sheet which I'm going to put before you. And you can download this sheet from later on. I will in the description column. I will also write from where you can download these sheets. So when you will watch this video, just have a look over the description. You will find over there the link from where actually you can download this particular sheet. Topic is India's and AS preparation strategy. So under this, first of all, you need to be quite aware of with respect to the Indias which are in prevalence. Which are in prevalence means which are the serialings which really carry an Indias, and which are the what we call serials wherein there are what we call no Indias at this particular moment. For example, AS1, we do have an standard by the name of presentation of financial statements. Similarly, as far as Indias 2 is concerned, we definitely have an Indias inventories, as each one of you know. However, just a moment, I also spoke about this particular fact. Anything which has been given here in shaded area, you need to understand that there is no Ind AS or IFRS for the same at this particular moment. Is it clear? So there is no Ind AS for 3, 4, 5, or 6. Then 7, statement of cash flow. Obviously, we will have to do that. Similarly, accounting policy changes in accounting estimates and error. This is your Ind AS 8. And just a moment ago, I also told that presently there is no Ind AS by the serialing of 9. That means there is no Ind AS 9. Then we have to do obviously 10, 11, and 12. Then however, just a moment ago, I also told this particular fact that 11, which dealt with construction contracts earlier, now has been replaced by India's 115, isn't it or not? So obviously, you need not require to do this particular standard. You will definitely not do any such Indias which in practical life does not exist, and at the same time, you need not require to do obviously such standards which have been now replaced or deleted. So directly or indirectly, you need not require to do construction contracts simply because of the fact it has been now, I should not say deleted, but rather it has been replaced by India's 115. But however, the crux is same. India's income tax, no doubt, India's 12, very important. Then 13, 14, and 15, I also told earlier that there is no Indias for these three serials, correct? Then next one is your 16, property, plant, and equipment. Now coming over to 17. As each one of you are very well aware of this particular fact that as far as India's 17 is concerned, now it has been replaced by India's 116, and very recently we have uploaded this particular what we call Indias with lots of what we call case studies. In fact, whatever Indias we have done, we take pride in giving you the what we call maximum over there, maximum number of case studies, and we have covered each and every case study of the module, correct? Then It means now you need not require to do Ind AS 17 indirectly. It means then Ind AS 18 revenue, just a moment ago, I also told you that this has been now replaced by Ind AS 115. Both Ind AS 108, both Ind AS 18 and 11 now submerged into what we call Ind AS 115. Employee benefits, then accounting for government grants and disclosure, and of course the assistance, then 21 effects of changes in foreign exchange. This is what I have written in this particular sheet. Now I take the next sheet. In the next sheet, I start with Ind AS 22, and I just told you because it is given in shaded areas, so you should get a clue that there is no Ind AS at this particular moment for this particular serial order. Then Ind AS 23 deals with borrowing cost, Ind AS 24 deals with related party disclosures, and presently no 25, no 26, then 27 separate financial statements, then 28 investment in associates and joint venture, then 29, of course, financial reporting in hyperinflationary economics. We'll talk about this particular standard later on. But in practical life, there is a standard by the name of 29. Then 30 CHOP, 31 CHOP. That means there is no Ind AS 30 or 31 at this particular moment. Then 32 financial instruments, 33 earning per share, 34 interim financial reporting, 35 no Ind AS, 36 impairment of assets, then 37 provision contingent liabilities and contingent asset, as each one of you are aware of, then 38 is intangible asset, 39 CHOP. That means there is no Ind AS at this particular moment by the name of 39. Although I did tell earlier, actually, that earlier there was an standard by the name of Ind AS 39, but same has been now replaced by Ind AS 109. So no more 39, then 40 and 41. So from 1 to 41, you must have noticed how many standards you need not require to do. Correct? I will also talk about which are the Indias once again that which you need not require to do simply because of the fact that either there is no Indias for that serial order, or because of the fact that that particular Indias has been replaced or deleted. Now we move over to, and I also told you earlier that there is no Ind AS from 42 till 100. From 42 till 100, there is no Ind AS or IFRS at this particular moment. However, from 101 till up to 116, not a single slot is vacant, unoccupied. Every slot is occupied. For example, there is Ind AS 101, first time adoption of Indian accounting standard, 102 share based payment, as you know, 103, everyone knows business combination, 104, of course, insurance contract, 105, non-current asset held for sale, and of course it also deals with discontinued operation, as you know, and 106 deals with exploration and evaluation of the mineral resources, 107 financial instruments, of course it deals with the disclosure aspects. Then operating segment, this is our sheet number 2. Now I move over to sheet number 3. Now, as far as sheet number 3 is concerned, here I start off with Ind AS 109, then 110. Of course, I need not require to tell you what exactly this standard is all about. Then Ind AS 111, joint arrangement, 112, disclosure of interest in other entities, fair value measurement. Then we have Ind AS 114, regulatory referral accounts, and 115, we talked a lot earlier, revenue from contracts with the customer, and Ind AS 116. So you must have noticed that from 101 to till up to 116, every slot is filled and there is an Ind AS for the same. Now put it in simple words. If I will add, correct, every serial order, obviously there will be total 116. But we have just seen that out of 116, actually there is no Ind AS 3, there is no Ind AS 4, 5, 6, 9, 13, 14, 15, 22, 25, 26, 30, 31, 35, 39, and there is no Ind AS from 42 till up to 100. That means if I take the entire stretch from 1 to 116, I will find that 74 slots are free. If I will add all these things, because there is no Ind AS from 42 till up to 100, and there are many standard which many slots which are absolutely free from 1 to 41. So if I will add all this, it will come to 74. So if I subtract 74 from 116, I will be left up with 42. So now you must understand, practically speaking, so far or till up to this particular point, 42 Ind AS have been issued or notified. You can call it this way around. Are you getting my point or not? That means at your level, not only at your level, but in practicality, we have 42 standards which have been actually either issued or notified. However, this 42 comprises of even such standards which now stand deleted or replaced. We will talk about that also. So this is the first point which you need to pay attention to. There are 42 standards which have been issued without an iota of doubt. However, out of this 42, good thing is that you need not require to do these 7 standards. Why these 7 standards you need not require to do? These are the 42 standards, no doubt about that. Correct? You need not require to do these standards because of either they are not part of the syllabus, or because they have been deleted, or because they have been replaced, or because of the fact that some major revision work is still going on because of the differences of the opinion, because of the differences in its applicability, because of what we call confusions with respect to the respective provision, or you can say because of lack of unanimity. Correct? So as far as 29 is concerned, it deals with financial reporting in hyperinflationary economies. Now, the point here you need to understand is that this standard is in practical life. That means 29, there is an index, but you need not require to do it simply because of the fact that it is no more a part of syllabus. And why? Just I told you the reason, because of what we call some confusions, chaos, and because of some differences of the opinion, and simply because of the fact that some major revision work is still going on. So professional body is better did simple thing not to keep it part of what we call syllabus. Then similarly, 18 deals with revenue. I have already told you, you need not require to do now. You need not require to do Ind AS 18 simply because of the fact that it has merged into Ind AS 115. 17 has been replaced by what we call 116. So you need not require to do Ind AS 17. You need not require to do 11 because it is replaced by Ind AS 115. Similarly, you need not require to do 114, not because of the fact that it is deleted or replaced, simply because of the fact that some major revision work is going on. And similarly, India's 106 and 104 on account of these reasons, because some major revision work is going on, and there are some confusions, there are some differences of the opinions, there are what we call, you can say, confusions with respect to the applicability provisions. So that's the reason actually these standards have been kept outside the purview of the syllabus. So good thing is that out of 42, you need not require to do these 7 standard. Correct? It should be absolutely clear to you. So your workload now comes down to 35. No doubt you have to do 35 accounting standard. Correct? But again, good thing is that is what my point is. Surgical precisive planning. Surgically precisive planning means there should not be any room for any foul play. If you give any what we call room for that, then it would be dangerous. So here we go. Out of this 35, now you must have noticed actually that there are some standards which are purely chapter based. In fact, when you will do the related chapter, this standard will automatically get what we call covered up. As you know, and India's 103, we have done this particular chapter at great length. Correct? At great length, supreme widest possible length. And we have lots of reviews of you, and definitely that encourages us. So India's 103 business combination. Obviously, when you have done business combination, it automatically means you are completely what we call done up with India's 103. You need not require to do it what we call separately. Similarly, India's 110 automatically gets covered with consolidation. Again, this chapter we have done with great length. However, recently you must have also noticed that I have replaced consolidation, correct? Especially in the Hindi version. So, two more lectures I will have to add by next Sunday. I'm going to add it, and those lectures will be what we call related with chain holding. India's 109, 107, and actually this is sheet number 3, but now I'm moving over to sheet number 4, and I'm folding it away bit. So there is no need to fold. Okay, I will keep this sheet this way around so that this segment chapter related standards 103, 110, 109, 107, and now this is sheet, oh, I needed sheet number 4, this is sheet number 2. Just wait. Yes, here the sheet number 4 goes. So these are chapter related standards. 107, 32. These standards, as you know, 109, 107 deal with what we call financial instruments. So when you do financial instrument, and recently I have revised financial instruments, many students are also saying, sir, as far as financial instrument is concerned, we are a little bit confused, especially with the fact that in our module only 2 or 3 pages have been given. So, but you must do the revised what we call lectures, which I have recently uploaded So it is very important because some objective question may be tossed up in the examination. So you must do all the lectures, correct? Then 113, many a student do not know that this particular standard, how much important this particular standard is actually. Honestly speaking, this standard fair value measurement is simply important on account of many facts. You must have noticed that so often we use the word fair value, especially under the financial instrument. Almost in every lecture, we have used the word fair value. Under business combination, consolidation, property, plant, and equipment, everywhere fair value, fair value, fair value. The reason is very simple because entire what we call panorama of India revolves around what we call this wonderful word fair value, isn't it or not? So that is the reason it becomes all the more important for you to understand exactly what fair value measurement is all about, how we measure the fair value. And for that, you will have to study this particular standard, not only because of the fact that you need to understand the meaning of the fair value, but also because of the fact that it is extremely important and intense, what we call a standard. And a good thing about it is that it is almost like a chapter as if you are studying, not rather the standard. So it should not pose you much problem, although it looks difficult, but I'm very sure the way we have presented, you should not get what we call any jitters. So you must understand that it is also almost like a chapter related standard. Similarly, India's 102 share based payment, again I must say that I have also revised this particular chapter thoroughly. Even in YouTube lectures are available. And 111 deals with joint arrangement. Many students again have falters in understanding the importance of joint arrangement and IND AS 28. Please pay attention. Both these standards are extremely vital, and these are as important as IND AS 103 and 110. So my sincere advice to you is not to neglect what we call these two standards, because these are going to play an important role, and you definitely can expect some question out of this particular what we call out of these two standards. So you must have noticed there are 42 issued standards. You can say effectively issued standard or notified standard. But out of those 42, I told you that under point number 1, you need not require to do the 7 standards. So you're left up with 35. So out of 35, that means all in all, we have to do 35 standards. But out of 35, good thing is that 9 standards are purely related to what we call chapters, which I just mentioned. Correct? This way: 103, 110, 109, 107, 32, 113, 102, 111, and 28. So these standards are purely related to the chapters. So it will definitely reduce your workload. So from 35, we subtract these 9 standards, we are left off with 26. Put it in now simple words. I will keep these two sheets here now. It means effectively we have to do 26 in AS. Are you getting my point or not? So quite obviously, for this you will have to work a bit hard, and it will consume your time, no doubt about that. But ultimately, unless and until we are going to actually put up hard efforts, we cannot expect what we call to reap the fruits also. So it is very important for you to not to lose sight of this particular fact that your hard efforts and the proportion of your efforts which you are going to put in, especially during these times, will ultimately unfold into a wonderful future. So now, out of this 26, many students sometimes put questions, sometimes where even I find myself virtually at sea. But however, because students are putting up the question, we will have to form an opinion. So, in my opinion, of course, the most significant important indices, which should be your focal area and which should consume your greater efforts. Number one is 101, extremely important, what we call a standard. Those who have subscribed for our Hindi version courses, here I would advise them to do this standard. Even if you have done this, please do this standard again after the next Sunday. Today is also Sunday, but after next Sunday you do this standard, because I have revised it, and but I will be able to upload it only after 2-3 days. Correct? In fact, all the standards have been in revised form, but 5 standard I wanted to revise, and I have revised in fact 3 standards, and 2 are remaining, and one among them is 101. So kindly please, even if you have gone through India's 101, please actually do it after Sunday also, because now I have added lots of case studies. I'm talking about Hindi version. In the English version, we have already revised everything. 105, non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation is very important, very important. And in fact, I have already written all these are very important, very significant, and very formidable standards, needless to add that. Now, India is 115 because it is a culmination of, you can say, India's 100 in India's 18 and 11. So, quite importantly, it is important, but at the same time, not very tough to understand because you are quite well aware of the meanings of revenue recognition. So, you need to go through this particular standard quite well too. AS1, correct? AS1. Now, AS1, presentation of financial statement. Again, this is very important standard, very, very significant standard. And honestly speaking, I personally feel that questions may be tossed up, case studies may be tossed up, no doubt, from this particular section. So you have to pay extra effort towards AS1. Don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. Even I find that when you ask very casually whether you will classify this particular item as current asset or current liability, student, because they feel that they have done current asset, current liability so many times in the past, but when you ask a question of them, they falters, especially in the light of India's hundred in India's hundred in India's one. Sorry, actually. So under this, there are many tricky questions. You need to understand that, and you have to be very fully versed with the definitions, even such like current asset and current liability. 21, always an important standard. Definitely a long practical case study you can expect. India's 2, don't neglect it. In my opinion, I consider it as very important simply because of the fact there are many case study, many points, many provisions. So question will be asked. I've given them a significance in the sense that where I feel that case studies and question will be thrown. However, you have to pay extra effort. 7 and 8 I have recently uploaded and in a revised form. So earlier if you have done 7 and 8, please go through 7 and 8 again because I here have now added lots of case studies, lots, especially retrospective applications, correct, has been now completely what we call thoroughly revised, especially with the help of lots of case studies. So you will enjoy these two standards now and things will become more clearer to you. So 8 and 10, in fact, I have revised. So India's 101 and 7, I will upload in by next Sunday, correct? Now, the good thing is that 26 we were supposed to do. Out of that, I have already formed a list of 10 supreme standards. So you will have to, no doubt, pay extra attention and little bit of time towards this particular standard. So you will be left up with 16, correct? Now, out of this 16, you will have to do 13. Out of remaining 16, you will have to do these 13 standards. These are quite important. But even in this segment, I have marked 40, 41, 12, and 16, wherein you are going to actually put extra efforts. Correct? Out of this set comprises of 13 standard. Correct? Out of this 13, you need to do 40 first, then do 41, then do 12, then do 16. Correct? Once you are done up with this, suddenly you will feel virtually elated. You'll feel very light. You will feel what we call very cool and calm simply because of the fact that whatever remaining in the AS are there, they are absolutely on similar lines to the existing accounting standards. For example, as far as intangible asset is concerned, each one of you are very well aware of all the facets of existing accounting standard AS 26. We have gone through it so many times. So it is absolutely on similar lines. Similarly, provision, contingencies, liability, and contingent asset, it is virtually what we call on the lines of existing accounting standard 29. So India's 37 should not pose any problems to you. Similarly, impairment of asset, you have already gone through earlier in your earlier phases of education. AS 28 I'm talking about. So impairment of asset runs on similar lines. So India's 36 again should not pose you any problem. Likewise, interim financial reporting, India's 34 is on similar lines to existing accounting standard AS 25. And earning per share, although it happens to be pretty long standard, but because you have done earlier AS 20, so again this should not give you any jitters or any problems. I have already talked about income tax and property that you have to give it a little bit of extra time. 19, employee bond benefits. If you have done accounting standard AS 15 earlier, correct, quite well, and you are quite well versed with all the what we call provisions and the guidelines, then obviously this particular standard should not pose any problem. 20, absolutely on similar line to what we call existing accounting standard AS 12, correct. Then similarly 23, borrowing cost, almost on similar lines to existing accounting standard AS 16. Similarly 24, related party disclosures, if you have done what we call existing accounting standard AS 18, then again it should not give you what we call much problem. Then this is the last sheet. So I have already told you this segment which I was going through, there are 13 standards. So out of 16 now, if I subtract 13, I will be left off with 3. Good thing again is that you need not require to do these 3 remaining standards. Simply because 27 is hardly one page standard, one theoretical, separate financial statement, and Ind AS 112 is disclosure of interest in other entities, again one or two page standard, correct? So I don't think anything will be asked from these standard. Now, as far as Ind AS 108 is concerned, operating segment, because some major revision work is going on, this is my personal opinion. I don't think actually anything could be asked from this particular standard too. So you can safely actually leave these 3 standard and stress upon earlier. So you must have seen that from 1 to 116 looks a pretty wide stretch of line and gives us unnecessarily what we call a scare and ferocity, where we feel suddenly at sea that what to do and what not to do. So when we look very closely, we found that many what we call slots are vacant. In fact, 74 slots are vacant. Technically speaking, 42 standards have been issued, and out of those 42, I made a list that which are the standards which have been replaced or you need not require to do. In fact, technically we were left off with 35 standard to do, correct, 35 or 36 standard to do. And then I made a list of 10 important standard. Then I made a list of the standard which are purely chapter related. So by subtracting those standard from 36, we were left off with 25 or 26 standards. Then I made a list of 10 what we call important chapters. We were left off with what we call 16 standard, and out of 16, then we have to do 13. We are left off with 3, and 3 we need not require to do. So all in all, we can say that as far as preparation of Ind AS is concerned, you should be absolutely very well aware of this particular point. Then suddenly you will feel a little bit elated, little bit cool and calm, and with composure you can study. And I'm very sure when anything we do with great composure and calmness, generally we succeed in that. Is it clear to you or not? So once you are thorough with this important point, then now you can what we call base your study plannings upon such things. It is very important. Then just to surmise, as far as accounting standard is concerned, many a times I have been asked by the student actually, sir, please let us know what to do accounting standard. See, as far as if you happen to be a CA student, you need not require to do any accounting standard, honestly speaking, because it is not no more part of your syllabus. But if you happen to be a CMA student, you need to do for the standard which I have marked here. You need to do AS1, you need to do AS2, you need not require to do AS3. You need to do AS4, 5, 7, 9, and 10. Are you getting my point? There are 29 standard as we know, correct? But I'm simply telling that you have to do this standard. Why? I will also let you know. There are 29 accounting standard, but we all are aware of this particular fact that there is no accounting standard as far as 6 is concerned, simply because depreciation, this particular standard has now merged into AS10, as everyone knows. And similarly, long ago there was a standard by the name of AS8, research and development, but now it has been merged into AS26. So effectively we are left off with 27 accounting standard. But out of 27 accounting standard, you need not require to do 21, you need not require to do 23, you need not require to do 27, because corresponding to this we have Ind AS 110, Ind AS 111 and 27. So you need not require to do this standard, because these are the standards which are completely companies oriented, and nowadays companies are following Ind AS. I need not require to tell you. Secondly, as far as rest of the standards are concerned, why I told you to do only the first 10, because whatever remaining standards are there, those will be covered automatically when you will do the what we call Ind AS. For example, when I said that when you will do what we call intangible related to Ind AS, automatically your AS26 will be completed. Similarly, when you will do Ind AS related to impairment of asset, automatically your Ind AS 28 will cover. Similarly, when you will do Ind AS 37 related to provisions, contingent liabilities, and contingent asset, quite obviously your 29 will automatically get covered. Similarly, when you will do interim financial reporting, your 25 will automatically get covered. Are you getting? Similarly, when you will do Ind AS 105, wherein we will also talk about discontinued operations, so your 24 will automatically get covered. We need not require to do 23. 22 will automatically get covered. You need not require to do 22, because when you will do Ind AS 12, it will automatically get covered. Similarly, 20, I have already told you that it will automatically get covered earning per share when you will do Ind AS 33. Similarly, 19 will automatically get covered when you will do what we call corresponding standard with respect to what we call employee benefits, and so on. Sorry, it will automatically get covered when you will do what we call Ind AS 116. Similarly, 18 related to the related party, it will automatically get covered when you will do the what we call corresponding Ind AS, and so on. Similarly, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, and 11. So you need not require to do all this standard, because I have a doubt, because many a question would be asked from Ind AS portion. But however, some objective sort of question could be asked from this particular part, correct? And why I told you not to do AS3, because you are going to do in AS7. So these two standards are absolutely on similar line, and there is one difference with respect to treatment of bank overdraft. When you will go through in AS7, I have talked about that, so you need not require to bother about that also, because during the course of the discussion, we have also talked about the what we call areas where the relevant standard differs from the what we call corresponding AS. So this should be your strategy, and this should be your surgically precise strategy in the sense, because I'm very sure if you are going to take care of these points, then it will become a little bit more feasible for you to actually study, because now you are in the know that which are the index which are purely related to the chapters, which are the index which you have to leave out, which are the standard which have been deleted and replaced. So obviously you are not going to do those standard, and which are the foremost and prominent standard wherein you will have to put a little bit of efforts. So first time you will have to listen to each case study. Now second important point, do only the case studies which I have done in the what we call lectures. You need not require to put in any extra efforts to hunt for any other case study. Moreover, we have covered the case study, every case study which is given in the module, so you need not require to bother on that particular count, correct? So on such count I may feel, and I think actually now you too would feel the same way, that it is not quite as what we call terrific a task to do what we call Indias as it seems superficially, especially when we are aware of all this particular point. I'm very sure that after having gone through this particular session, many among you now will feel a bit relieved, and I think you will be able to frame what we call rest of the studies now, how to go about these standards, because I have told you the guiding factors which should form your what we call own strategies. Is it clear to you or not? So with that, I come to the conclusion of this particular standard. I have already told you, if you want to actually download these sheets, you can do so. I will give you the link in the description, so you can go through that. So on such count, I take leave of you. So it's a very lovely, lovely goodbye from here in Delhi. And as always, with a prayer to the Almighty to keep each one of you safe, sound, and of course, always in fine spirits.